Oh no, another podcast. A laid-back look at success in life.
Hello again, welcome back. Here's Hattie Pearson's Fact of the Week.
Oi, oi, here's my fact of the week. A good animal one for you, which I think is really romantic and cute. The male Adelie penguins, right? They search the entire beach for the smoothest, most perfect pebble. You know what they do with that pebble? They then propose to a female penguin. They use that as a gift. They don't find a ring. They use a pebble to propose to their favourite, most gorgeous penguin. Isn't that adorable?
That was a pretty good one. I love a good animal fact, and it's pretty apt with who today's guest is. In fact, is it? So today's guest is Emma Billington. She is the founder of Dogs for Rescue. She rescues dogs, not penguins, but dogs are animals, and that was an animal fact. So I first met Emma about 10 years ago when I fostered a couple of dogs for her. Then I adopted a dog. And then when that dog sadly died a couple of years ago, I've been fostering again. Dogs for Rescue is a charity that's very close to my heart, and the work they do is brilliant. They're the UK's first kennel-free rescue, which basically means the dogs can kind of roam about. It's absolute chaos. They've also got the world's greatest Instagram account, which you should check out, Dogs for Rescue, dogs number 4 rescue. In this episode, we get into how a chance meeting with a dog changed Emma's life and led her down this path, how they've grown Dogs for Rescue into what it is now, and how you can help. I hope you enjoy it. So where are you up to at the moment with everything?
So we're waiting for phase 2 to be done. It's nearly there, but we've got to get the fencing up so that we can get the dogs up, because obviously that's the exciting bit.
And phase 2 is the second site.
Yeah, phase 2 of Rescue World. The Rescue World's the second site, the 40 acres in Lancashire. And we did the first phase, and we've been operating that for 2 and a bit years. And now we're moving on to phase 2, which is sort of a duplicate with an extra bit where it's like a halfway house. So it's like we can rehab the dogs a bit more in a home setting for the ones that might be able to move on.
Okay, that's cool. So because Rescue World at the minute is like the sanctuary dogs that are staying around.
It is, yeah. And then that was the idea, and actually it's worked out that some of them are actually progressing better than we thought, and that environment actually lends itself to some who are ready for homing but don't cope with the noise of Earlham. Earlham is the original site where it's extremely...
It's chaos.
Yeah.
How did this journey start then?
So I came back from uni, got a job, boring job in computers I was no good at, and at night time, living with my parents again, I could hear this noise, and I knew it wasn't a fox, but I didn't know what it was, and it was like an animal in distress. So eventually I heard it in the daytime. I went round to this neighbour's house. You know when you got those neighbours that you never see them and everything's dark and it's a bit eerie? And I sort of wandered around the back garden because I didn't get an answer at the door. And to see the most pitiful thing I've ever seen, which was this skeleton staffy chained to the concrete with mess all around her, just cowering. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? So anyway, it was her that was making this noise. And I tell you what, that staffy noise now, like there's just
in your brain.
Yeah, it's like, I made friends with her and started taking her out on walks, taking her with me. And yeah, when I was stuck at my desk.
Did you ask them, or was she just doing it? Or?
I did ask them when I saw them. They didn't really care, obviously. They were using her. The local dog would come round and impregnate her. He'd sell them to puppies for £20 in the loot, which was very old school, before anyone's time.
Nice
paper. Yeah, he was very proud of himself for that. He obviously had some sort of, difficulties understanding things. So he'd rescued her from Manchester Dogs Home, but obviously wasn't neutered. So that was a bit of a shame for her. So that was her life, basically. Couldn't get any help from anybody, called, charities and things to try and help because her condition was bad. The other neighbour had made her a kennel, but it was very leaky, so she had nothing. So even if I got her bedding, it would get wet. They wouldn't take her inside. And yeah, unfortunately, then I realised there is no help for dogs like that. That is their life. So I could only make it better because if I took her, which I couldn't anyway because I was working full time, but if I'd taken her, we would have replaced her with someone else.
Yeah.
So the best I could do for her was just walk her on when my time off. And then I would take extra time off work to spend with the dog. And my life became working the dog. And I hated work. And Beautiful Lucky felt like a drain to me at the time because I was giving up all my free time with her. I mean, I did actually take her to the pub a couple of times to try and have some sort of life because I was like early 20s, back in Manchester wanting to, live and go and play pool and have friends and stuff. But I always had this staffy with me that I kept feeling like, but I didn't realise how much I loved her at that time, obviously. And then one day I actually quit my job because I thought, you know what, I need to make sure this doesn't carry on and I can take her out. I could be a dog walker. So I quit my job. Anyway, I went round to get her and she wasn't there. It was really bizarre. I went round the next weekend and there was another dog on the chain. So I went to the front door, said, "Where's Lucky?" And he just said, "She's dead." And he'd let her off the lead and she'd come running around to see me, but I'd moved because I was trying to set up a business, dog walking, etc. She'd come round, I couldn't find me, and ran onto the main road and got killed.
Oh, that's so sad.
And sorry,
It's all right.
many years ago now. So I collapsed on the drive actually, and that's when I realised how much I loved her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry. Take as much time as you want.
Doesn't matter how many times I tell this story, I just don't seem to be able to do it without being upset, because the one regret I've got in all this time is her.
Yeah.
Because if I'd had just taken her off the chain, and she'd have been okay, and the other dog would have been on there anyway, and then I'd have just figured it out. You know, so she's the one that lost out, but she taught me so much, and you know, everything is in her memory, really.
And what a legacy, to be fair.
Yeah, you know, she's the unluckiest one, but yeah, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her, you know. I mean, I love dogs, and I'd always wanted one, was never allowed one, because obviously it was ridiculous. The parents worked, and there's no way we could manage one, which was totally true. But yeah, I ended up with
Now you've
Marjorie.
got 60.
Yeah. I think it's about 100, but yeah. So I've got everything. I've got her to thank for absolutely everything. And then Sandy, the other one, he let me take her on dog walks. So I'd set up my dog walking business. I could take her with me.
Okay.
I resented her because I wanted it to be Lucky, and I was heartbroken, and then never realised again how close I'd got to her. So that's how I know that the other dog actually saves you in the end. So it all started very early on.
It's quite a leap from like a dog walking business to what you've got going on now. How does that happen? Because I know loads of people who will say, "Oh, like my dream is to like retire and set up an animal sanctuary or whatever," but you've kind of done that well before retirement, and it's chaos and it's the most fun place. I know.
Yeah, it is.
Like how has that happened?
So obviously the learning from Lucky and Sandy was the state of rescue, and how, you know, there's just so many dogs, and, you know, some places you just give them out to anybody and they're not having the best lives. And then when I set up the dog walking company, it was with the idea to take Sandy with me so that I could make sure she had a great life rather than just my weekends. And actually, what I realised was there's this huge need, because dog walkers were quite rare at the time. There was only me and my silly white van that I bought off eBay for like 600 quid, and the engine fell out the first week. Oh, that was a drama. And my parents were having a slight breakdown about the fact I'd just quit the job after uni. I was dog walking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Send me through uni.
I can only imagine what they were saying though.
It wasn't brilliant, to be honest. But I knew what I wanted to do, and it was just, I'd never been one of those people with a huge drive or belief in myself, because I thought I did the degree because that's what you're supposed to do. I was kind of following a line of, you know, you go to school, you do this, you toe the line and you do what is, and you're in a channel. I never had any dreams, aspirations, anything particularly. I just loved dogs. And then the next thing, I just found this thing that motivated me to do something different. And I cared enough about the dog to care that I don't care if people think, "Oh, well, why are you dog walking when you could be, you know, doing a boring job in Manchester, you know, and making some money." So the money isn't my motivator at all, obviously. So the thing was, when I was taking these dogs back, most of them were young pups. So I'm going out, I'm taking them out for their lunchtime walks for these owners who are working all day, you know, long days. So it's lovely that they've got that walk, but the faces on them when I had to drop them home. So I used to do group walks, and I'd take 4 of them at the time, and they'd all have a great play, and Sandy would be telling them all off, and it was my learning of how packs work, and it was very much sort of, you know, I'd never really had dogs, and so I was like, oh, this is interesting. Sandy was a very interesting character, taught me everything I know.
Was she a Stafford as well?
No, she was some sort of mix of, I don't know, an Alsatian and something else, completely different to Lucky, so I had to sort of get to know her a bit. And then, but weirdly, I thought she was quite aggressive at first, but I didn't realise, and that's what taught me actually to help them through it. And actually, it wasn't aggression at all. And she was such a natural matriarch. It was bizarre.
Yep.
So anyway, I learnt loads from her. And what I realised was these dogs are spending, I don't know, 10 hours a day on their own, apart from this 40-minute walk in the middle of the day, which their owners are paying quite a bit for, you know, because it's not easy to make money as a dog walker.
Yeah.
So I wanted to set up a daycare for them where I could take them. Obviously, they didn't really exist in the UK at the time, so I was looking, searching online, and there's some in America. I thought, oh yeah, well, if it works there, why can't it work here? Didn't really understand. Thought that's my dream, so I set up this dog walking, which went so well that I literally couldn't walk any more dogs. I was having millions of dogs, and I was working 7 days a week, and they'd come and stay at my house because I loved them all, and, you know, it was absolute carnage. But great fun. And then I opened up the daycare by basically pestering my parents to lend me all this money so I could put this deposit down on this warehouse, even though the council were like, you can't do that. I say, why? And they're like, because it's not a kennels. I was like, but it isn't a kennels. I'm not trying to run a kennels. They're not there overnight.
Yeah.
They were like, well, that just basically didn't fit anything, so they couldn't stop me. So they were like, well, if anything goes wrong with this, we're shutting you down. But they didn't know what could go wrong. And obviously everyone was like, you can't, my mum and dad, like, no, Emma, no, right, you've lost the plot. You can't just bung a load of dogs in a warehouse and it'll be fine. I was like, I'm on chat rooms with the people of owners of the daycares in America. I was looking at what they were doing and how and what they learn, and they were so helpful. And they all had these groups where they helped each other, and it was lovely. So I got learned about the flooring that you have to have and the rest that the dogs need and how to get the groups. It was so interesting. So I was really excited about it. Anyway, I eventually found this crazy Irish landlord that was an absolute lunatic, that would the only person who would let me do this in this warehouse. And kidded it out, and it took off. And even though everyone thought it wouldn't work, it worked with the idea that as soon as it made any money, we could help more rescue dogs. And it was always the dream. So it did take a long time. Set up daycare in 2007 and paid my parents back first to show that obviously good for the money. And then found this, in 2011, found this old farmhouse with a couple of acres next to a motorway that nobody wanted because it was just really weird. It was all shuttered up, it wasn't a great house, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it already had a couple of kennels on it with a big chain link fenced area of an acre or so. And I thought, I could use that, So pestered them again, got the money again. They knew that the business was going all right by then. So, believed in me by that point and thought, right, she's just going to do this, whatever. Saw how happy I was, I think, with what I was doing. And, obviously I was working all the time, but I didn't, I loved it. It wasn't work. It was a joy. And then tried to set up a kennel-free rescue in the UK, which was harder than trying
What
to
made you want to do kennel-free? Because you'd seen it elsewhere.
Yes. So I went on, I think, my final holiday to Turkey many, many years ago. And obviously there was street dogs about and they were like, we have a shelter up in the mountains or whatever. So went on a 2-hour bus ride, as you do, with the partner at the time who was like, do we really have to do this while we're on holiday? You know what I mean? But he was very good. We went there and I saw the dogs living in this kind of compound with trees. And I just remember watching them for ages and thinking, well, they can't be the dogs that are, but because they're all getting on, they're all playing, they're all happy. This is crazy. They didn't really have kennels. They had a few, but it must be for like isolation or whatever.
Yeah.
And the other dogs were just running in a big area. And I thought, that's amazing. They're happy. And that's just struck me. That not what I was expecting to see, a very sad setup, because I'd volunteered at rescues. But, it's very much, individual kennels. Dogs very upset. It's very depressing. No one wants to do it or go there. This was a joy. So, we gave them whatever money we could and then was like, there must be some at home, So I came home and looking, where are they? And then obviously the daycare, some of those dogs I knew that, some of those are rescues.
Yeah.
This makes no sense. So, set up the first pre-running rescue.
Because the vibes at Dogs Rescue are very, very different to like other kennels I've been to.
Yeah.
Because normally it's like a small grey room with like one sad dog sat there in it. And
all rows and rows of dogs going mental. Like that's the ones I used to volunteer at because they're just throwing themselves, trying to get attention. And the ones I'd seen, the dogs, it was so upsetting because I wanted to help the dogs, but really, again, like a dog walker, I could only take them out for so long. And then you're bringing them back in, shutting them away again, and you've got to take the next one. But that one is just looking at you and it's just heartbreaking. And I can understand how people don't want to see that. So this was more of we can create an experience for those dogs where they don't have to exist like that. And then I approached all the places I could find that were trying to rescue dogs and asked if I could help. And that's where I realised no one's going to let me do this because they were like, that's insane, it's not going to work. So I get where they're coming from, totally got that. Monday, in my daycare, walked in a new dog that was coming in. Now, most dogs, that when they come into a daycare and there's 50 dogs in there, UK dogs have a slight breakdown and you spend the whole time trying to make them realise you're not going to get killed in here. It's okay, Try and build their confidence because sadly they don't understand other dogs. They literally don't know what to do. They feel scared and you have to help them through that process to build the confidence. Well, this dog came in and I looked at her and she had clearly had 2 broken legs previously. She kind of walked a bit like a crab and I thought, what on earth have we got here? She walked through as though it was the most normal thing in the world. And I was just watching her like, this is weird. And I asked the owners, and they'd rescued her from Bulgaria, where she had been run over. She had 2 broken legs. I've never known a dog walk into an area with 50 dogs that she's never met, that she just went, hi, hi, hi. And then everyone was like, oh, hello, you're lovely. And they loved her. I swear. So I asked them all about it, and I got in touch with the rescue that she'd rescued them from. And it was just a poor little one run by a lady on her own. That she was trying to do a good thing. She was an English woman actually out there. I said, would you let me help? And she was like, obviously, how many do you want? And I'll send it over, whatever. So we started there, like one at a time, bringing him over. And the joy then, and that's where I learned all about the foreign dog thing. And they are different, and they're different in lots of ways. And sometimes they get bad press now, but I swear they are the most dog-like dogs you'd ever know. Natural dog, ones that have understood how to be. And they can teach us so much.
And they always have like quite big personalities.
Absolutely. They are survivors. They're just incredible what they've been through, their resilience. They inspire me. And so it wasn't that I set out to necessarily rescue dogs from abroad anywhere. I didn't mind any dog that needs rescuing that I could help. It's just what we wanted to do. But they have formed such an important part of what we do because they teach us everything. Like they teach us stuff that I couldn't learn anywhere else about pack stuff. Dealing with, dogs in groups and, what they want out of life and how to stay safe and all these things. They've actually ended up rehabilitating so many of our UK dogs because I love taking the death row ones. I love taking the ones like Bronson over there that, they are on the last hours.
For someone who doesn't know what does like that mean death row is.
Sadly and depressingly, you realise like in the UK, we lose thousands and thousands of dogs a week, healthy young dogs that shouldn't be killed because they've not necessarily done anything wrong. They just end up unwanted and the rescues are full and the pounds are full and they get 7 days when they're picked up or dropped in, 7 days to find a rescue space.
Yeah.
These pounds are just unknown places around the UK. There's ones in everywhere. And only by helping, I went to a pound once, which had hundreds and hundreds of kennels. And I remember it was staffies. 90% of them were staffies, and then there was Jack Russells. That was about it at the time. Now, I hardly ever see little staffies anymore, but these were all brindle staffies, and I'll never forget their faces. And as I was signing the one dog out that wasn't a staffy or a Jack Russell, which is all I was allowed by the owner of the rescue, said, don't come back to me with any staffies. They already had loads, they couldn't shift them. So I took this one grey, fluffy dog thing that was the only one I could take. And as I was signing her out, it just said PTS on every single number on the line, apart from where I was signing out. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, put to sleep. And I looked back at the faces, and then you realise how bad this problem is. That was a long time ago, and it's only got worse. So I know it's depressing.
And that was where Bronson's come from, who you may or may not be able to hear snoring behind us.
I told you he was quiet, but I forgot when he falls asleep, he's not so quiet. And this is...
So that is where he's come from now.
Yeah, one of those places. This place, they're everywhere, unfortunately. And it is the reality that nobody ever talks about. It is something that we do want to highlight. We don't go on about it on our socials because it is very upsetting. And we actually try and help people realise that, there is another way of doing things. So not to divert, but it is an important part for me, having known that that's what was happening. And it is still happening on a bigger scale now. That's what we need to look at in the future.
Yeah, so the mix you have really... like the foreign dogs coming over and the death row dogs.
Yeah, and then foreign dogs coming over doesn't happen as much anymore because what happened during COVID was nobody could get hold of a dog because every breeder was pumping them out for as much as whatever, and you could get them cheaper if you rescued them from abroad. So the rescues did well for a while abroad, and then they would send over whoever. Unfortunately, a lot of them, during COVID didn't get the learning that they need to learn to live with people.
Okay.
So what we've ended up with is a lot of dogs from abroad through the UK. So they've either come from rescues where they shut down in kennels because they can't cope on their own, and rescues always put them on their own usually.
Yeah.
So that's a very sad situation. We've got another one coming in who's been in kennels for ages. He's like years, and he's totally shut down on his own.
So sad.
Yeah, and so he's coming in again in April. There's people who've adopted direct from abroad, which, they're lovingly wanting to provide these homes for these dogs. But sometimes, the dogs aren't always the most suitable for them. So we're always a halfway house. We'll be the ones that, take them, assess them, and then match them to people, depending on energy, size, all that thing. So what we hear now is, I've just rescued a dog from abroad and it's bigger than I thought. I don't want it, and the rescue won't help. Because obviously these rescues are trying to help these dogs, and when, the picture didn't match the look of it, it's a bit nuts. So there's a big problem there, and obviously it's making people dislike the fact that rescues are getting inundated with foreign rescues getting brought in and then given up by people. So there's lots of issues that we need to sort of look at and explain to people who aren't understanding why is this going on, because I can understand UK rescues getting very upset when they're struggling to take the dogs off death row.
Yeah.
And then you've got ones that have been brought over and then being given up by people who, they're just adding to the problem as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not everybody's doing it from a good place, trying to help, but it's just unfortunately not working the way it is. So we need to sort of out it a bit and then go, right, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
Hello, it's Josh Jones here, Sam's younger, better looking brother. And wow, do I have a podcast for you. It's my podcast, Chatting with Cherubs, that I do with Morgan Rees and Garol Ferrelly. Oh my gosh, all of us have been doing stand-up for well over a decade. We've all done telly. We're very successful comedians, very successful. I'd argue I'm more successful than Sam is in whatever he does. He's not asked me to be on his business podcast about successful business people, even though I'm better than him and I'm taller than him and I weigh less. I've got more hair follicles. I'm grandma's favourite.
Josh, can I stop you there? This isn't the script we agreed.
More people like me. I've got better balance. Sam can't even ride a bike. I'm a better cook. Anyway, full on better than Sam. If you would like to listen to Chatting with Cherubs, it's wherever you get your podcast. Thank you. Goodbye.
So with staffers, why, first of all, why are they the ones that are in the kill shelters so much, and what are people getting wrong about them?
Years ago, they were just so overbred
Okay.
that there was just so many of them. So they obviously are a certain type of dog for a certain type of person. I think if you've ever had a staffy, there's nothing better than a staffy. If you've never had one, you're not going to understand what that ball of nonsense is. They're absolutely... I only obviously had Lucky, so I got to know her. I don't know if I'd have chosen Staffy, I probably would have been a Westie person or something. But now I've known them and the loyalty and the love that they give, all you can see is the bad rep that comes from them. Now, it used to always be Staffies in the pounds, and unfortunately we've moved away from that now, and it's very rare to find a Staffy. Despite it only being so many years since we've done rescue, it's changed remarkably, and now it's all your big bullies, so all your giant bull breeds. So it was hard enough homing the tiny staffs. Now it's slightly impossible to home any big bullies, and obviously, as you'll know, Bronson behind you is the big guy, but also because of the XL laws, etc., all of the drama is becoming near impossible.
And if someone's not been to a kennel-free rescue, talk us through what it's like.
It's a wonderland, I would say.
Yeah, I tried describing it to someone the other day and I just said it's just chaos. You should just go and have a look. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say to everyone, if you look at our socials, it is what it is. So they see the nonsense that goes on. A dog comes in, oh, there's another one in today. Oh, here it comes. The one that you helped us with, Spiro, the other day, comes in 2 seconds later, he's racing the fastest dog I've ever seen, and everyone's trying to chase him to say hello, and it's madness and fun and nonsense, and you wouldn't believe it, but it's true. That's what we do. We don't hide anything. It is chaotic sometimes, but the dogs seem to love it.
Yeah, what difference does it being kennel-free make to the dogs? Because they can go more or less anywhere, can't they? They're in sections and they go around that section.
Yeah, we match them with energy. So it's really, we need to get to know the new dog. We know all of our resident dogs. We know, kind of how they are. You've got the very calm ones that'll be brilliant for certain dogs. You've got the ones that'll run and play and bounce off the other dogs.
Yeah.
If I've got a bully coming in, I need certain ones to come out and just play, because most of them aren't going to understand bully play. Foreign dogs are a bit like, what are you? But other dogs love it. So it's kind of matching them like that and then giving them the freedom and space and choice and safety. So it depends on the level of confidence of that dog. But there's always someone. The good thing is with having 60 dogs, you've always got someone you can introduce them to.
And you say a lot that it's a rescue crisis. Can you talk us through that and what that looks like?
To me, there's always been a crisis in that we're losing young, healthy dogs all the time, en masse. But the crisis has got worse because the demand, obviously, from COVID, from everybody, adding the number of dogs and being at home, and then everybody going back to work, and then the cost of living crisis, and then everything else on top of that, the uncertainty, the petrol prices now, you can just see it. We are just flooded more and more every week, and it's hard. It's hard for everyone on the front line of rescue because you're going to lose most of the dogs that are needing space. You're only going to be able to help a few. And when you don't get the applications in, and then you still see people buying pups and breeders and people promoting breeding or whatever it is, it's so hard because you know that so many beautiful, innocent, gorgeous, healthy dogs that could be a great companion and just not even getting seen.
And how can people help?
You can help by fostering or adopting, which would be huge because obviously if you help a dog, even if it's a short amount of time, it buys us that time. It helps us rehabilitate them.
I've just fostered for like the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The laziest dog of all time.
Exactly. And like he's just had the best time because he's got to chill out properly. We've got to learn a lot about him. And then we've placed him somewhere. So it's a huge help for them. But it's also created a space because you took him out of our care. We were able to help another. So everybody who helps on that journey's great. Otherwise, really, I think it just needs to be out there that, rescue dogs are not damaged dogs. They're just unwanted dogs. Do you know the most emails I get in are from people who've say you had a dog that's made a mistake and bitten a child or whatever it is, it's always the ones bought from pups.
Yeah.
And then you go, but everybody assumes or you can't trust whatever. What I'd say is you just need to get to know them and you need somebody who's going to assess them. And you can only assess them if they're in a happy place. You don't want to try and assess a dog who you've left in isolation for ages, who's stressed out of their heads, because what does that tell you? So there's just definitely a way that we need to improve how things are done to help people rebuild trust, especially with the way the media is at the minute, because I will always advocate for the bullies. The bullies are the most loving, loyal, abused, neglected, horrifically treated dogs on the planet. I don't know why. I suppose there's a certain type of stigma to them and there's a certain type of person that use them in the wrong way but they are the most sensitive, beautiful natured creatures you could meet. So I will always advocate them. Every single one of them, and we have saved absolutely hundreds of them, have always been the most amazing dogs.
And then I wanted to talk about the handicans, the disabled dogs that you look after as well, because every time I come up, there's a couple on like wheels and stuff. How have you got into that and what's the difference there?
Bizarrely, so actually, I suppose part of the story was when I set up the rescue, I had Sandy. She was my own because the guy who'd owned her had died. So the freedom was amazing. Sandy ended up coming to live with me and she was my girl and it was like the best feeling ever. Set up the rescue November 2013. We'd only been open a couple of weeks and I woke up and Sandy passed away beside me. Now I'm okay with that because she got the life that I wanted for her and I have no regrets and she taught me everything and so I'm all right with that one. Strangely, just before she passed away, we'd had an emergency appeal for this huge Bulgarian street dog who was paralysed. She'd happened to be brought over to somebody's house in Manchester, bizarrely. And all I heard was, we've got this big dog we've rescued. She's paralysed, she's incontinent, and unfortunately she smells. I'm not sure what people were expecting if they wanted bringing in that kind of dog. But anyway, that was our first experience of picking up the pieces for somebody who's got a dog over that was bigger than they thought, that smelled. So she came to us. I had no experience of these dogs. I honestly thought, oh gosh, this dog shouldn't be alive. She's only got a front two legs. The rest of her's not working. This is horrendous. Until I met Sherry. And Sherry taught me so much. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And I swear to goodness, she's the only dog that could sort things out. So if we had the odd incident with a dog and they weren't letting me, sort them out, Sherry would just come over, woof, massive woof in their faces. Oh, everybody just back off. Right, it's all sorted. And then she'd look at me like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just do this?
Yeah.
But, no fit, right, off she goes. They loved her. The puppies used to lick her. Oh, she was the most popular dog, but she would sort anything out. Even though physically you'd look at her and go, well, how can you sort anything out? You can only work on your two legs. So anyway,
She'd like drag, wouldn't she?
She'd drag herself. So she had wheels, but she was smelly because obviously she was incontinent and it would go all over her legs and her tail and it was an absolute nightmare and it made life hell. But anyway, she arrived and when Sandy had passed away, I don't know if I'd have been able to get up that day or the day after because it was such a shock, but she was there. She needed me. So I was like, right, I've got to get up and I've got to do this. And actually, she's the one that's sort of helped me just carry on. And because she needed so much physical attention and baths and nappy changes, and oh, God. Anyway, ended up, we got rid of both of her legs and her tail, which seems unbelievably extreme. It was 5 operations in all. It wasn't good. Vets didn't want to do it. And the next thing, set her out on the field. She saw a rabbit and she was off, lifted her back end up and just ran. And she lived her best life from then on. And she inspired everyone. We did marathons with her. She loved every person. She'd been shot by a restaurant owner because she was scavenging outside his restaurant and left like that.
Yeah.
And you just think, do you know what? She's been to all this. I probably wouldn't have brought her over, because I'd have thought I can't deal with a dog like that or whatever. But actually, I was so grateful for her in the end.
And now there's quite a lot similar stories.
Yeah. I think what happens then is people see you and go, well, actually, we've got this one. Oh, dear. So we're not bringing them over. We got Odin was in the UK already. And obviously, he's got issues and has now got one back leg, but he's very, very wobbly. He's got hyperplasia. And
But every time I see him on social media, he's like wrestling people and other dogs and stuff.
Now, I talk about rescue dogs, Wills, are, that they've survived everything. Those dogs are the naughtiest, funniest, strongest, most willful dogs I have ever met. And they cause chaos sometimes. When you say chaos, it'll be Lollipop and Odin. Lollipop is a terrorist. He's off and any dog we bring in, we have to put him on a lead. He's only got 2 legs as well. And he's only small, him. But he, unlike Sherry, who was just a matriarch, is a little monster. And he wants them to know that he's the boss round here in his bag. And he has this drag bag on and he bounces around the place. And he's faster than everything, possibly not Spiro. But yeah, he's faster than all the others. And he's just got such a gob on him. But as long as he's met them and you've told him, right, okay, they're coming in and they're allowed in, and then he's fine. He's great.
Yeah.
But he is naughty. But they do make me laugh, yeah. Memorable times would be on Christmas Day getting a message from the neighbours down the road saying, all of your farm animals seem to be in our garden. And I had to do the walk of shame at like 6 a.m, where I went round their back garden trying to herd the pigs and the sheep away from their bins area. And they were all there Christmas morning, all the kids, because they had loads of grandkids there and everything, all laughing at me, trying in my slippers to try and just herd these animals down the lane. And then Ali videoed it, I think, the walk of shame, and they all, he's up. They just came trundling down the road and like, not even embarrassed to have nicked all the food, but that was weird. The same neighbours found me where someone's dog, it wasn't a rescue dog from ours, but someone's dog had escaped, and I'd managed to get him, and he was a husky type, and I managed to get hold of him, but he didn't have a lead or collar on or anything, and I was on the lane and he was through the bars of a fence, and it was a gate thing, it was padlocked, so I had him and I knew I couldn't let him go, and I was there in like, typical slippers again. And I couldn't let him go and I didn't have a lead on me. So then the neighbours just appeared and I'm just holding on to this dog next to them. And they're like, you all right there? And I was like, actually, really what I need is this, because I couldn't do anything about it. And if I let go, it'd have been off and that would have been it again. So that was odd as well. I must appear completely mental.
Do you still talk to them neighbours now, or have they just like hidden away from you?
They've been so good, honestly, like they've been so patient. We're very, very lucky where we live. It's been a really good purchase, actually, that place, even though it looked a bit like, why would you? But it's worked really well for us.
I've got like chickens on the motorway road down here.
Yes.
Can you tell me that story?
I don't know when it was, I can't remember, I'm afraid. Many years ago, I heard a massive bang in the night. I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was screaming. So I'd assumed it was, and we live next to the motorway, I'd assumed it was like a coach crashing and people screaming. So I got my Crocs on, emergency shoes, obviously, and ran across the field, which was right next to the motorway, and then just saw this scene, which I just, the chicken lorry had crashed, but they hadn't tied them in. So all the cages and everything had just come out and were just spread across the motor lane. And that was before the police got there and everything. So it was just chickens hurt, wounded, dead, everywhere. And then a lot of them still locked in the cages. So it was this horrendous day. Suddenly the news heard about it. Suddenly someone told them that we were there, and we were basically running down and taking as many live ones as we could and running them up the embankment and throwing them into our field. Not with a plan, because obviously, what are you going to do with millions of chickens? But anyway, I think we saved about 3,000 in the end. And eventually, this was hours, it was going on for so long. They wanted to clear the motorway, but, they'd come with their scoops and these chickens would be stumbling and they'd just treat them like they were dead. But then what it was one of them I remember had no feathers at all, a completely bald chicken. It was pitiful, it was tiny. I had it in my hand And the driver was just stood smoking a cigarette, and I just held it up to him and looked at him, and he just looked at me like I was insane. And then it was awful. Anyway, we did that, and then they sent the poultry workers down to get the rest of them. And they were snatching them off us, and we were arguing with them, and it was horrendous, because obviously someone was telling me, well, you're going to get billed for all these, you're going to have to pay for all these. And then I'm thinking, we had no money. Oh, God. So the media were there, it was absolutely hysteria. Then everybody heard they were there, so everybody came and wanted chickens. It was nonsense on this little lane in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, how have we ended up with this today? You never know what a day's going to bring, but that was a bit weird. So yeah, eventually we just saved as many as we could. Police were trying to get us off the motorway, and we were just running around the truck. I mean, it's not, we weren't supposed to do any of this stuff, but no one was helping them. Yeah, it was a sad day, but interesting. And then that's when, we were kind of pushing the vegan message, because I'd been, I think, vegetarian up until then, and then sort of went vegan as well. And then I found out that he's brilliant, Earthling Ed.
Oh, yeah.
I found out years later that he had become vegan because of that story that hit the press.
That's great.
And he's now going around the world, and he mentioned us on an interview. And it was mental. One of my supporters said, I've just heard about him mentioning the clash that inspired his veganism and his journey. And you're thinking, wow, even if it wasn't for those few chickens we saved, the fact that he's gone on to do that because of that moment, you just don't realise what small things you can do in life sometimes.
Because it is a vegan team, and
now, mainly vegan, yeah.
Hello, it's Josh again. Dogs for Rescue is the UK's first kennel-free rescue. It's independent, and you can really see the great work they do when they welcome a nervous newcomer. It also means a lot to me and my partner, because that's where we got our dog from, Ellie. Ellie has been with us for 7 months. I love her so much. She's really settled in. She gets on with the cats. She's not even trying to eat them anymore. They all get on, and she gives me kisses on the face, and I love her so much. I love her so much. Sam has supported Dogs for Rescue for years. His dog Liska was from there, and he currently fosters for them. He's fostering a dog at the moment called Spiro, who I met, and he's so cute. If you would like to support them, please check them out online. It's Dogs for Rescue. And if you are considering a dog, please do consider going to Dogs for Rescue. You'll meet your next best mate there, honestly, I promise you.
when you said farmhouse before, there's like loads of other animals apart from just dogs. First time I came around, there was like a pig doing like rolls and stuff.
Yeah, we ended up with, it became, I don't know how, I can't remember.
Just like a pig in the kitchen that was doing
Yes.
tricks and stuff. And I was like, what is going on here?
This is, do you know how many people came and they talk about the first dog they adopted for him? Was even like our trustee now, and he says, he was telling the whole new team that wouldn't have a clue that when he first arrived, it was only the farmhouse. And he walked into the house with his family. So he's got 2 kids, a wife, and they've come to see a dog. And obviously I always had tons of dogs that were suitable in the back rooms sort of thing. And then he goes in the kitchen, there's a pig, there's a sheep on the couch in a nappy. And he's like, what? And then the next thing, we're just bringing dogs through. What do you think about these? He said, not the most usual experience.
The first time I came, because I fostered first, and there was a pig on, like, sat on the floor, like, doing tricks and stuff. And I was like, this is chaos. What's going on? So how would be gone from, like, because that was when it was like a homemade rescue, really, wasn't it? Whereas now it's like, how has it grown and like mapped out and become a bit more?
So that came through staffies as well, actually. We were just doing the things that we did, but not really making the most of it. And this lady approached me from Senior Staffy Club. She was kind of helping them, and she was in a position in life she wanted to help other rescues, and she knew what my love of staffies because she followed our page, thought it was interesting what we were doing. She said, can I help you out? So virtually, she was on our socials. I handed everything over to her and was like, yeah, do what you want. It's not my thing. So she was growing the page, getting followers, all the rest of it. Anyway, I think it was about a year later, she happened to be in Manchester, and I said, do you want to come up and see what we're doing since you help us so much? Come and meet some of the dogs. She came in and she was like, you do not have a clue what you're doing. You don't put out there what you're actually doing. This is insane. There was Grumpy Stew on the sofa telling off Grandad Zach. He was pacing up and down with his dementia, knocking the mop over, which meant he wanted a treat. So it was like I was getting up every 2 minutes, giving him a treat. Then there was Milo, doorbell Milo, sat behind me with his head on my shoulder, because that's just what happened. I'm working on a laptop. There's loads of bullies asleep on another sofa. There was probably the pig in the corner. I can't remember if the pig was inside still at that point. She said to me, you are not showing people what you are living here. This is insane. She loved it.
Yeah, because you lived there as well.
Oh yeah. So that was in the kitchen. And it was just in every room just had loads of different dogs in it and stuff. So I was showing her around, and she recognised some of them because I'd send her like clips and that. Anyway, she just said, you've got to show what this is. So that's where Grumpy Stew's character came from. She just watched him and was like, anyway, she never left. So she moved in. Not joking. She came to stay for one night just to see what it's like. She moved in. She's now in Accrington with us, and she has developed that social media to show people the journey, what we're doing. She's nuts. She's amazing. You'll never see her. She's like the Stig, if anybody remembers that from Top Gear.
Yeah.
She won't be on camera. Loads of her vision is there, but all she's doing is bringing to life what we're doing, which I obviously couldn't do. It's great because she used to be high up in, I don't know what it was, creativity and all that stuff. I don't know much about these things. But yeah, it was just, she'd found a way in life where she didn't want to work for corporate people anymore. And she just came and volunteered for us, but lived on site, got to live the dream. I say the dream. She always had like a dog in the bed with her. She was literally thrown into it in the middle. She's got so many funny stories, but so she's still with us and still as passionate as ever, and has basically been my other side of chaos because I was already going ahead with buying property, borrowing from the parents and all that. And then she's like, let me help you find a new site. And then we went off in our Crocs to view this crazy place that was like no electricity, no water, run down places, nothing habitable at all, but 40 acres, and it was absolutely brilliant. And she goes, well, why don't we just set up a fundraiser? It's like, oh, well, let's just try that then. And then, then we know we've at least tried. I mean, this is ridiculous, £500,000 fundraiser. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, no, you can't do that. Like, there's no way. It's not going to work. Same as they said to me about, the daycare and everything else and free running rescue and blah, blah, blah. So we weren't deterred by that. We thought, right, we're just going to do it. It might be a bit embarrassing. We might have to say, sorry, guys, there's your money back. We didn't quite make it. But you know what? Let's give it a go. I couldn't believe it. We got it within a month. Yeah. We got it. And it's like, that's because she took everyone on the journeys with us. She showed what we do. It's like people love us.
The original site's like developed quite a lot since I first went, because it was just like a house, but now it's like a compound now, and with various other stuff on. So I guess it's because you have the best like Instagram account anyone's got. And then you just use that to leverage to, I guess, become more professional over there.
I'm not even on Instagram, I'm afraid. I've got no idea. This Sally.
Yeah.
But
that's allowed you to get the support that you need to do the other stuff.
Whatever she does on those channels, Insta and Facebook, and I get emails to Stuart. We are literally...
To the dog.
To the dog, yeah.
You get email. Because I was going to talk about Grumpy Stew, because he's kind of famous as a dog, and I didn't realise he got emails. But
he lives with Ali at Rescue World in his lodge, so all of it is true. You often see him by the fire. He is living his best life. She is his servant, basically. She and he have just become this morphed thing. She talks in his voice, which is just ridiculous.
Nice.
Now we sound a bit crazy, but she just loves it, and it's like she could think outside the box without even realising she's thinking outside the box. And sometimes you need to do that to be able to achieve.
Because as well as like being different to all the other rescues in terms of like physical setup, it is like the way you present yourselves online is different to all the other rescues, isn't it? Because a lot of them are like, it'll show a sad dog in a cage, whereas the Dogs Rescue like social media pages is just like 20 dogs running around the fields of Accrington looking about and causing trouble.
I mean, I think the thing is, it's dog rescue is depressing, and yes, the stories and the people on the front line I feel so terrible for. We had to just do it differently, because if we're going to get these facts out there about the reality of everything, you also want that bit of what is possible. You want to give people hope, because there is hope. And there is, there's different ways of doing things, and you want to challenge the norm, and you want to say, we don't just have to accept it and go, this is awful, so many dogs struggling. You want to go, actually, everybody can make a difference, and why are we not, making more of a difference? So we're always pushing that.
And what are your plans for the future?
Well, we've now got this rescue lottery that we set up a couple of years ago, which is going really well. And that's obviously helping us along with our current supporters and Stuart's shop, obviously. Doing phase 2, then we'll do obviously phase 3, 4, 5 at our site, which means we can do it quicker. But then what we really want to do is help people who are running a rescue or want to run a rescue that is kennel-free or has bits of kennel-free. Obviously, I am not saying kennels isn't a good thing. Some dogs can't cope with kennel-free. There's always different ways of doing things. It's got a massive part in it. But I also think there should be a kennel-free part, or there could be a kennel-free part to every rescue. And it's I went to Battersea when we had no money at all and got a grant from them to help us out. And you hope that in the future we'd be able to do like courses or something where we can get people to come in and see, and then we can help them learn quickly, because we've made so many mistakes over the years. That's the only way we've learned. We've learned through the dogs. We kind of want to help them by doing it and hopefully being able to give out grants. I mean, we're talking sort of probably nearer 10 years down the line, but you never know. We might be able to do it sooner. The quicker we can, the better for everyone.
And what advice would you give to anyone who's like looking to like work in conservation or with animals?
It's hard to get into, I think, because it's in demand. But if that's what you want to do, you got to think about, the future of your life. So much of people's lives are spent working, and now mine's living a dream I never even really thought I could have, because I cared enough. So if you really care enough and you really want to do it, then just show that to the people that you're going towards, because we get inundated with people wanting to help. But, there's just some people that just made for it. And you think, if you've got that in you, just go for your dreams.
This might be a stupid question, but what does like an average day look like?
An average day without this, it changes. An average day is not holding on to the need to have done anything, because by the end of the day you might have done loads of different things, but to sort of live in the moment with the dogs and realise that whatever they need is what we do. So every decision we make is based on the dogs. We had a massive team meeting yesterday because we've got new members of the team, really trying to expand and do more. And we're just reminding ourselves that every single decision we make is like, is that going to make that dog's life better? Is that going to save one more dog? What's it going to do? So our days are basically spent juggling, and it might be that a dog comes back that you weren't expecting. So you've got to pivot, or a dog goes out and gets a home, right? I've got another space. Who can we save? You're just constantly juggling. That's what it feels like.
And how can people help?
Really by following us, getting to know what we do, sharing that with other people, and obviously helping by, joining Golden Paw Club. That's our bread and butter. That's £5 a month, and people join, and then we send newsletters out and stuff like that. But you kind of get a little more behind the scenes of things. But that keeps us going. That's our vet bills. That's our running stuff. That's everything that we can do to just keep churning through. Obviously joining the lottery as well. That's for future stuff. But yeah, really helping with the dogs would be my heart thing. So, and even if it's not our dogs, I don't mind. Help any rescue dogs. Help any dog at all that needs help. It's like, the problem is big, but don't let that stop you. Don't let that overwhelm you. Just think, what can you do? And even if it's, borrow a dog for a weekend, I know a lot of places might not be able to do that or whatever, but if you look, there are places that need that help desperately. So yeah, that's what I'd say. We do Northwest, but obviously, wherever people are.
So we've just had an idea of another way that people can help.
And it's quite a simple one, really. It's, why, a bit like the kennel scenario, why do we have dogs living on their own? They really are pack animals. So whether you could foster or adopt, if it's a financial thing, just foster and then we pay all the bills. But if everybody could take just one more dog, I mean, 2 more would be great, because 3 is the magic number, really. But I know that the 1 to 3 can seem like a big leap, but 2 is definitely easier than 1. They've got each other. They don't get the separation anxiety. They don't get a lot of the problems. And you don't have the guilt that they're on their own because they've got their mate. And we love matching dogs. But I do think going forward, if we could just change that everybody has to have at least 2 dogs, that would then sort out the entire problem.
I know you tried pushing the second one on me for ages and I dismissed, but I will get to next time.
I think that's the thing. It just takes a while for people to get their heads around it. It makes so much sense. The only thing I can go with that's not sensible is if you can't afford to. I get that.
Yep.
But that's where fostering comes in, because the dogs love it. We ended up, at a daycare, we had one guy come to us and he'd just got his golden doodle and it was lockdown time. And he was so pleased with her and everything. She was a gorgeous dog. So I said, right, could you possibly foster for us? That guy now owns 6 dogs. He's got 1 golden doodle, 5 rescues. One's got like half a face and all the rest of it. They're all mixtures of goodness knows what. But I tell you, they are the happiest family ever. And he just said, I just can't tell you how much you've made our lives brilliant. And you think, well, stories like that are the ones that keep us going.
Oh no, another podcast.
Thanks for listening to Oh No, Another Podcast. The theme song is You Told Me by Strawberry Lemonade. You can check them out on all the social medias and anywhere that you listen to new music. This episode was produced by Sally Rutter and is a Liska Group production. Thanks for listening.